Welcome back to Bros in a Landfill, your friendly guide on how not to spend your weekend.
Your hosts for this week are our good friend Tar,
Hey, I'm a dude.
the guy eating his food on the podcast that's not about taste, Dizzy,
Fuck off.
and then there's me, Try, who's actually recording with the right microphone this week, so his audio isn't shit.
Yay! Hooray for technology.
So funny story, for the last two podcasts, I've been recording with my laptop mic instead of my really nice Blue Yeti mic. Because I didn't realize that Audacity was recording from the wrong one.
Gosh, imagine having a nice mic.
I'm sorry to all of you listeners who had to suffer from the last 2 weeks, because trust me, I had to suffer through far worse audio as I fixed it for the actual public viewings and shit. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not a reviewer, so I can't give a fair quality. I can't give an objective review on the quality of the last few episodes. Probably solid, like 2 or 3 out of 10. I don't know about you guys. How do you rate this podcast?
I'd give us, on some days, we're a 3. On others, we're a solid 4.
Fair. I see Tar's really got that analytical backing to make fair assessments. What about you, Dizzy?
No
How'd you rate
comment.
this podcast? And he's probably saying something I probably can't hear him because of this fucking connection issues.
No
Yay,
comment.
Connection issues.
I have a headset mic, unlike you, and I'm trying desperately to adjust it as far away from my mouth as possible because apparently it's louder than usual.
Okay.
Well, you sound pretty good right about now.
Yeah, you sound better now. It sounds better. Speaking of reviews, what do you guys think of reviews? Because that's what we're talking about this week. We're going to be talking about reviews, review cultures, how and what people expect from reviews, and why it's just terrible, and I'm not just being an ass for the sake of being an ass.
The only reviewer I watch is Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Which,
I don't.
sadly, is more than I can say for most media. Beating a dead horse, I know at this point, but
Yes.
fuck it.
Yes.
Yahtzee's good.
See, Tar doesn't need to watch reviewers because he doesn't watch media or play games or anything in the first place.
It's true.
What about you, Dizzlers?
Ugh. On the topic of your Yahtzee conversation, I used to watch Yahtzee Croshaw. I would watch his stuff. He'd play games I'd never even heard of before. But then I started noticing an uncomfortable trend where every time I had played a game that he had reviewed, I found that I could not in any way understand anything he was saying, as I had nothing that even closely pertained to his experience, criticisms, problems, or even games he liked I could not agree with him on. And then I just stopped watching him.
And I see that Dizzy's in a very similar situation to me when it comes to reviewers, but I handle I handle this situation differently. For me, I don't there's no real reviews or recommendations people can give me that are accurate because my tastes are so bizarre, as we've kind of talked last week, that things that people say are supposed to be good are I don't find I can't sit through or get much enjoyment from. Things that people say are bad, I enjoy too much. If there's anything that can be a fair indicator of how I watch, how much I get from reviews, I'd say just look at my MAL because generally speaking, there'll be some things in there that are generally thought of as good that I've given decent scores. And then there's other things let me see, let me look at my completed list. Is there anything that I've given a high score that I don't think most people... Well, I've given the second season of Cute High School Defense Club an 8 out of 10, so let's just leave it on that.
What's Cute High School Defense Club?
It's a magical boy anime that takes the piss out of magical girl anime.
Okay. I don't
It's
really.
one of the it's literally what it's a bunch of it's a magical boy show that's got this comedic edge to it, but the it's stupid. I don't think most people could enjoy it, but I get a kick out of it,
And that's okay.
and that's okay. I think the biggest tell about how reviews don't do much for me is not the scores I give shows, because I give scores based off of how good I think things are, not how much I enjoy things. But it's if you take a look at the shows that I've actually completed, that's a more fair assessment of what I can like enjoy and what I can get through. I think this goes back into a bigger thing where and this goes I think this goes into the whole like objective subjective um conversation that we didn't get too much into last week, but part of the reason why I wanted to talk about review culture this week because it plays into this objective and subjective conversation. But people are so concerned about objective reviews, and I don't get why, if that makes sense.
Well, you don't want to spend your money on something that you know is going to be bad. I guess
Yeah.
that can also be extended to something that you don't want to spend money on something that you don't know is going to be bad. So that's why people look to reviewers to give them a nice summary, let them know what problems it has, and then judge from there.
Yeah, when it comes to like the objective subjective thing, I do agree. When it comes to shows, games, and media, there's some objective things you can say I guess there's the objective parts of a game, which if I think the best example I've seen people mention this before is Jim Sterling's objective review of I think Final Fantasy 13, where he literally just lists off the traits of of the game, and to some extent that's fine, but that's not what people are looking for. What they mean by you're being objective, because
You knew that was a satire, right?
yeah, it was a satire. Jim Sterling was being satirical because everybody's like, oh, you have to give objective reviews of things. Where no,
Even though he stopped doing reviews, period.
yeah, like when you're giving a review of something, and you're by nature of scoring something with a review, it's going to be based off of your taste, and it's going to be based off of what you think is good, and you might be able to recognize problems within media within like a show or a game, but depending on how big of a problem that is to you will affect how much that weight as a weight on your score. And sometimes if you're really invested in something, you're not going to notice the problems immediately, and that's going to affect your score. Or if you're not invested in something at all, you're going to be more aware of every little problem, and you might even create problems that aren't there just by the sheer nature of you not enjoying what you're consuming or not being invested in what you're consuming. So,
Well, hang on. If you're not invested, wouldn't that lead to a low score in the first place?
exactly. I'm talking more about like justification for an even lower score. Like if you're not invested in something, you can still sit there and say, okay, well, there's these technical good things, so I might bump the score up a bit more. It's the whole it falls into the bullshit of the whole scoring culture. I think the only value to scoring is to score how much you've enjoyed something and how much you'd be willing to recommend it to somebody. Or I think more accurate is like how well it fits into your taste and how well it fits into your definition of good. Because the only real, like going back to what Tara said, like when people go to reviews because they want to know something's worth their money or worth their time. And it's important that the people you're looking at, like the reviews you're reading, are people who have similar tastes to you. Because if you're trying to figure out what's good or what's not good, someone who has a completely different taste to you might give a game a 10 out of 10. And you might not agree. Like you might think, okay, this person gave this game a 10 out of 10. Let me go play it. you think it's dog shit because, of course, your tastes are too different. And then you go and complain to the person for giving them a 10 out of 10. It's like, no, that game was a 10 out of 10 for that person. There's no problem with them giving that score. But with...
But you didn't recognize that there was a lot of difference between them and you.
Well, that's... And I think it comes down to there's this perspective of... And I think to some degree this is a lot caused by the perspectives that people have with reviews. There's this idea of the objective review that, and this plays into the whole game review market, where you have these like gaming magazines and gaming publishers that are expected to give certain reviews to like people. I guess people take it personally when they give the thing you like a low score, or they point out the problems of something that you like. Or I think, or on the flip side, there's a mentality of if you give a game a low score that I really liked, or a show that I really liked the low score, that means you just didn't get it, or you're trying to find problems that aren't there, or you're thinking about it too much.
Hi there, Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I really like that game. I'm still really like that game, but I know that
Sonic Adventure,
there's been a recent trend of really shitting on it a lot.
Sonic Adventure 2 is a very nostalgic game. There's a lot of fun and camp in the game, and so doesn't mean it's a perfect game by any means.
Oh no, it's definitely not perfect, but I still really like it.
But the thing that really annoys me about this whole review culture, it's less to do with the reviewers, because the review, especially when yes, there's some degree it annoys me when there's the whole the whole corporate side of things where scores get bumped up because of the whole sales aspect of, if a game doesn't get a certain high enough score, it might not sell as well, and when money is involved, that's a whole different conversation, because I don't care about that. That's gonna happen anyways in a capitalistic society. Who gives a fuck? Just find the people who you agree with taste-wise, or it might also be a good thing. Find someone that you don't agree with, listen to their reviews, get a different perspective, and still not play or watch the thing because you're not going to enjoy it if they enjoy it. But yeah, I'm turning this podcast into an excuse to rant about things and publicly put it up because I've got passion.
You do, and I don't know how to add to it.
Okay. There are two ways to look at a game. There's the neutral aspect where you only look at the qualities of the game, and then there's the opinion aspect of what did I feel about this game. And both parts are important, because if you need to be able to look at it in a neutral way of what's actually in this game, what are the mechanics, what are the blah blah blah, so you can give a fair opinionated response, so you can justify your opinion. If you're not attempting to be neutral to some degree, okay, then you're just spouting, like, people aren't gonna hold you as much to account. But that's not really the value of reviews. I think the best example I can give is, I don't know. Let me think. How would be the best example? Because I watch a lot of different reviewers, just because. I'll just take a step back for the conversation's sake. I like to watch a lot of different reviewers with a lot of different opinions and different tastes, and 9 times out of 10 I disagree with most of them. But that goes more into the fact that I watch YouTubers for their personalities and the ideas and the thoughts. I don't particularly care about what they're talking about, but what they derive from what they're talking about, and I might find something that I'm interested in from them or whatever. It's stuff.
Oh, see, I'm the exact opposite. Whenever I watch like big Let's Players, I'm usually not watching it for them. I'm usually watching it for the game that they're playing and see how they react to that.
Mm-hmm. See, the only Let's Players I still watch are the Game Grumps, and that's more because of them, not the game. I don't really get much enjoyment from watching Let's Plays because I'm of the mindset I'd rather just play the game. If it's a really bad game or like a game that doesn't play well, okay, I understand going and watching somebody play it. But as someone who watches YouTube for the people and not for the content most of the time, like it's what do you guys think? I've been talking for like 10 minutes nonstop.
Well, now I
keep
have
going.
a mouthful of ice cream, so
Okay. Is Dizzy still on? Dizzy still connected? Because
I'm still
I don't know
here.
if he's just not talking.
I'm
Okay, I
still
saw his thing light up.
yeah, his thing's lighting up.
I'm still around. I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay, we just started. Have you said anything in like the last 10 minutes?
No, sir. You have been talking this whole time.
Okay, that's weird because
Yeah, we aren't
I
picking you up.
we aren't picking. It'll be in the audio tracks. I might try to edit things around.
I said I wasn't talking.
Discord might just be being terrible like usual.
But there was nothing to pick
Damn
up.
it,
I said I
Discord.
was not talking.
Oh, you weren't
Oh,
talking.
you weren't talking.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oops.
You're gonna have a lot
Our
of.
mistake.
You're gonna have a lot. You're gonna have a lot of fun editing that one. Try. You're gonna have a sudden burst of. But I said I wasn't talking for 2 minutes.
Okay. Anyways. So. Let me see. So the main thing I want to talk about this podcast overall is like what value is there in reviews and why people should be watching reviews, because I get very frustrated when I see people like arguing about reviews and whatnot and belittling people because of their reviews, because most times than not there isn't a ulterior objective to someone giving a review. Yeah, you might see a review score bumped up because review sites
they're paid because they're being paid.
And that's more so where something like YouTube or independent journalists are more the places to go, because they're just going to tell you what they think. There's less incentive of like, well, there's less incentive to just boost scores. But
I'm trying to think. Are there any other reviewers other than Yahtzee that I've watched? And the well's turning up pretty low, and I don't want this to just be about Yahtzee.
Yeah. Well, I think the real benefit of, like, rather than reviews, I think what's better in some ways, especially for people who've already, like, reviews are only good for people who haven't played or like who are considering to play or watch the game or show. So, like, after you've already played or watched a show, the review is kind of pointless. You're only going in to see if you agree or disagree, which is not really a good reason to go watch or read a review in the first place. I think the ideal life cycle is, okay, this is something that interests me. Let me watch a review of someone that I either really agree with or really disagree with, to see if it might be something I'm interested in. See that they determine they're interested in it. They go play or watch the game. Play the game or watch the show. Then come back, and then instead of watching other reviews, they look for analysis of what they've played and watched, because a lot of people misconstrue analysis as review, and I think that's for something where the nostalgia critic kind of falls into this gray area in between, where it wants to both be review and an analysis, and it turns into a summary of just the show. It's like or the movie.
Isn't Yahtzee the same way?
I don't watch Yahtzee, so I don't know.
Oh, because I feel like he's kind of the same way. Except
Well,
he's entertaining whether you've seen the show, whether you've played the game or not.
well, I think the difference where it breaks down from review to analysis is how much of the content are you sharing? How much of the story, like, or the symbols, or the spoilers are you talking about? A review is able to. A review doesn't focus on the details. A review focuses on the bigger picture, what you should be looking at, like reasons why you'd want to watch it, and like any importance it might have, and things that you might be like if you are interested. These are the things you should be considering while going into it, or reasons why you might not be interested in said content. Or as an analysis goes in, discusses what actually happened, discusses the details, and explains why those are important to the bigger picture, or whatnot.
I give this podcast a 4 out of 10.
Yep, that's a fair enough. Would you like to further expound on your reasonings for giving it a 4 out of 10?
Well, I mean, again, it's just like, according to us, none of the three of us are good at conversation. Oh gosh, my thing is, I'm not connecting well. Oh no, okay.
It's okay. Okay.
Like, none of the three of us are good at conversing. So, like, I only like attributing to something if I know I have something to contribute, which currently I do not.
Yeah. No, I and the only reason why we're doing this topic this week is because it pertains to stuff that I wanted to talk about last week that we didn't get time to talk about.
Okay, that makes sense. Which was kind of a rehash of what I just said.
Yes.
And Dizzy is Dizzy, so it just turns into Trybien dominating the show.
Yeah, no, trust me, I do. I want to be able to just sit here and like zone out while you two talk. That'd be amazing.
Gosh, I wish I could talk. I'm just not good at it.
Well, partially is these are topics that interest me and not necessarily you guys, and I would like to get some more topics from you guys to see what you want. I feel like even though like I struggled the first podcast to really communicate, I feel like that was definitely our most like one of our better ones, just by the pure fact that we all had something to talk about with Pokemon, and I think we would definitely benefit from talking more about things that are less broad concept and more about specific media or things from our childhood or past. I imagine something like an Ace Attorney podcast would be great, where we talk about each of the games and what we thought of them and our experiences with them and etc.
I would, but I can't remember what happens in most of them.
Yeah. And I would just give an example. I've replayed each game enough to basically have like it's all kind of just fresh in my mind. But
all I know is 6-2 was a disaster.
Mm-hmm. Well, 6-2 was not a disaster. I don't get why people keep saying 6-2 is so bad.
Well, I mean, like, Ace Attorney 5 and Ace Attorney 6 are less about the mysteries and more about the world. Yeah, but looking at 6-2 from a mystery standpoint, it's really not. It's not good.
For me, the appeal of Ace Attorney was never the mysteries. It was always the character arcs.
Oh right, I'm absolutely the same way. I love the characters.
Mm-hmm. And that's partially why I dislike 5 as much as I do, and partially why I'm not the biggest fan of 3.
Oh, I loved 3 though.
3 was my first Ace Attorney game, and I've probably played it more than anything else. So, but
let me guess, your problem is 3-3.
No, it's not. This is. I don't know if we just want to evolve this into talking about Ace Attorney 3.
We totally did. Psych, you thought.
No, my with an Ace Attorney, I feel like it's always the strongest when it's focusing on its individual cases, and has individual story arcs about the people involved with the cases, and that's why I'm one of the people who like Turnabout Big Top. It says like, yes, I understand the mystery part's terrible. It's got that terrible cross examination with Mo the clown, but as a story about the characters, it's actually one of the better ones through the series, and that's where things get wonky with the people who are fans of Ace Attorney, because
there are those two distinct camps.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And hey, this actually does talk about review culture, because we're talking about.
Hey, we managed to tie it back. We're not a bad podcast. Okay. We're a solid 5 now.
Okay, so when it comes to the Ace Attorney games, and to some degree, it's the same thing with Danganronpa, and I've always enjoyed more like the biggest problem for me with Ace Attorney 3, and this is that I don't like it sacrifices its individual cases to tell a grander story, and like the overall story of 3 is not bad. It's pretty good, but outside of some fun characters, like yes, Rhonda Light and his wife are fun characters. I don't give a shit about the Stolen Turnabout. Case 3 had some fun characters. I didn't give a fuck about Case 3. The only cases worth mentioning are 1, 4, and 5, and I'm not a big fan of Godo as a character, because his character arc is it's one of those, like, in retrospect, don't really make the most sense.
I loved Godo, though.
I loved Godo too, but I think it just soured on me over time. He's not like, I guess this goes back into Ace Attorney 3 in general. Ace Attorney 3 is full of fun characters, but the character arcs are never as good as the first 2 games. Like the actual character arcs and progression and character dynamics.
Well, shoot, now I'm going back and trying to remember which characters in Ace Attorneys 1 and 2 really had like the big arcs. The only one that's kind of turning up is Adrian Andrews.
Yeah.
Like, she had a thing, right?
Okay, yeah, well, where I'm getting to, it's Ace Attorney is for me, I feel like Ace Attorney is the strongest in its individual cases. When it tries to tell a long story, like a long form story that connects all of the cases, that's where it really struggles. And this is definitely the case with something like Ace Attorney Investigations, and why something like Apollo Justice fails, because the writing is it's hard to balance a game where you're both focusing on a huge, like, on like an overarching narrative while writing individual stories.
Yeah, that certainly does sound like a challenge.
Mm-hmm. It's the same problem where it's trying to write a good mystery and a good story in the same, like at the same time, is really hard.
Well, I mean, like, Ace Attorney has that down pat with the individual chapters.
Yes, but that's also why Ace Attorney 3 is not, like, I don't enjoy 3 as much, because its individual chapters aren't written as well as, let's say, like, the focus is the whole story, and like the best written cases are, like, even so, like, I think the only actually, like, legitimately really good case is Case 4. That's the only one that has that I feel is,
wait, 3-4, right?
Yeah, 3-4. Case 3-4 is the only, like, really good case, as some really good character, like, drama and very good writing. I feel one that the first case struggles by being a
tutorial case.
Yeah, it struggles by being a tutorial case. Those are already hard enough to read as they are. By introducing Dahlia at that point, and it's operating under this like logic of these are characters that you're going to meet later in the game, but it doesn't like the character by putting that as a tutorial case, it makes it harder to care about like it makes. I guess it goes back into the game not being told in it's kind of like a weird in media past res. I don't know how to
In
describe it.
medias res.
Yeah. Well,
is
because
how
it's
that's
both
pronounced.
it's both in the past, but in between like the start of like her meeting Dahlia and whatnot. And granted, I think Case 4 is as strong as it is because of the sacrifices that Case 1 had to make. But I feel Case 4 is is the only really good part of Ace Attorney 3. And
It's probably you'd probably find it really sad that Case 4 is actually the one I remember the least.
well, but no,
3 and
that,
5
like,
were the 3 and 5 were the highlights for me.
yeah, and Case, there are Case. Actually, I think I find it funny that you find Case 3 the highlight because that's one of the I think one of the most critically panned cases.
Oh no, I fully understand that. What was number 3? It was like Turnabout.
Yeah, it was Turnabout Restaurant.
Turnabout Restaurant. That doesn't.
No,
Yeah,
was
I know it was the one with the restaurant, but I was trying to remember the official title.
I don't remember. No, I actually do kind of agree. Case 3 is one of the better cases from the game. Like I'm not gonna. I think it's one of the. I think it's the most well composed case in the game. If that makes, it's the most balanced case. It's not. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think there's a lot of like kind of bullshit in there, but it knows what it is, and it just has fun with itself.
Right. Well, the entire thing that made 3 for me was like, well, I think I'm one of the few people who actually likes Victor Kudo.
Yeah.
Like I remember actually really liking him. Like Armstrong, I don't like Armstrong. I found to be just as irritating as everyone else finds him to be.
Yeah, I agree. Victor Kudo was pretty fun.
I actually really like Viola. Wait, it was Viola, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Viola Cadaverini. Yeah, Viola Cadaverini.
Yeah, Cadaverini. And
Cadaverini.
and like,
I wonder.
But the part I really like is like that takedown of Furio Tigre.
Yeah, no, that was definitely one of the highlights of the Ace Attorney series. I absolutely agree that the takedown of Furio Tigre is very satisfying, and I think a lot of people get hung up by the fact that
it was that easy for Phoenix to do it in story.
No, I think the problem, that's the same problem that you can say with 1-2. It's in a lot of ways, Case 3 is 3 is a rehash of 1-2 in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, 1-2 was a cop out.
Yeah, 1-2. I feel like Case 3 is a better version of 1-2, hands down. I don't like 1-2 at all.
You're gonna have to expand on that one because I'm not seeing where you're coming from.
Okay. I like Red White a lot. I'll just leave it at that. I feel like April May is one of the worst witnesses in the entire series. I feel that.
Well, because she was doing things for Red White.
Well, no, I just found her really annoying. I don't like. Like she's like the least memorable in the worst type of way. Like I remember her because she's so unmemorable. I remember her because I don't like her.
You're supposed to remember her for boobs, though.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why. It's like if it feels like she's. In general, I don't like over sexualization of characters as their main character trait. It's just.
As their main character trait, okay.
Yeah, I'll just leave that out there. I find it kind of. I find it cheap. I don't know. It's not interesting.
So then 6'4" must really tickle your fancy.
Well, I didn't like. I forget her name. I didn't like the balloon girl that much at first.
Yeah, Gator.
Yeah, Gail. She was the only part of that case I actually didn't really like. 6'4" was I enjoyed 6'4" quite a bit, but I feel like that might also be due to the whole Rakugo thing, because that was coming off a few seasons after Shogun Roku Rakugo no Shinju, which was an anime about Rakugo. So So it was easier for me to be invested just by that sheer fact that had this connection to an anime that I really enjoyed. Also, the Athena Blackwell banter was fun. My biggest problem with Ace Attorney 6 is that I don't like Nayuta as a prosecutor, which is funny because Blackwell is one of my favorite parts of Ace Attorney 5, and Ace Attorney 5 is my least favorite Ace Attorney.
I actually really liked him because he seemed to be really competent. More competent than most Ace Attorney prosecutors as of late.
Yeah, well, I definitely... But actually, I want to go back to Godo real fast. That's also why I don't like Godo, because it feels like he has this feigned competence about. Like, he never felt like a. Like, in retro, and this is like in a retrospect, like because I may have liked it more if I never replayed it, or replayed it as many times as I did. But knowing that he's not a prosecutor, and even so, that line where he says that, like, yes, I've never lost any cases because I've never done any. This is my first case. He never comes off as threatening. It's this, like, what makes him a threatening prosecutor is this confidence he has. But when you compare it to somebody like Franziska and Edgeworth, they're confident. I feel like Franziska, in a lot of ways, Franziska and Edgeworth are much more interesting of characters, and I'm actually, my least favorite part of Ace Attorney 2 is that you only get to face Franziska twice, because she is a child, but she has this confidence, and she does have this perfect record, and because of this confidence, she overlooks details, and she comes off as a brat, but that's because of her, I guess with Edgeworth and Edgeworth and Franziska, the threat feels earned with them. Where Godo, it comes off when you first meet him, he's supposed to be this threatening prosecutor, and he's not really. He's kind of a joke most of the game.
Okay, I want to talk about Franziska because I hate Franziska.
Oh no, I completely. I hated Franziska at first too. I've come to appreciate her more through the replays of Ace Attorney 2.
Oh, I still hate Franziska. I hate her over-reliance on the word probably. Someone with her reputation should, I know the whole age factor is a thing, but somehow, it's hard to conceive her as much of a threat as she's supposed to be when she spouts, "This probably happened," as much as she does.
No, see, I think because knowing that and I think this also goes back into why Godo frustrates me. Knowing that Ace Attorney is supposed to be a satire of the Japanese court system and how prosecutors have so much power and whatnot. The fact that she can get away and sway the court's opinion just by saying probably I find hilarious. And because of how in an ideal court of law, anybody should be able to look at her and say, you're saying probably. That means you don't have any real backing to her thing. No, Franziska can get away with probably because A, her pedigree, and B, because of the Japanese court systems. And I find it fucking hilarious.
Anyways, yeah. Godo still remains to be my favorite just because, again, he never loses his nerve. Mm-hmm. He always seems to have a plan, and he's just sort of a Renaissance man, or at least he's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to where I feel that Goto. It's because Goto's never really cares about the guilty verdict. He only cares about getting one up over right, and that's because of this whole backstory with Mia and whatnot. And I really don't buy his motivations. And this goes back to the whole reason why I don't like Goto. Is his whole motivation is like, oh, Phoenix didn't protect Mia, so I hate him. So no, if he took a few minutes to look over that court case, because this is if Mia was someone that he cared about so much, I imagine he would pour over that court case. And in some ways, I feel like he'd respect and admire Phoenix for taking down the person who killed took down her killer, despite being a fresh out of law school guy. No, his whole shtick is, oh, you let Mia die, so I hate you. Which first was not the case. Second is childish, and how am I supposed to respect this man's intellect and cool demeanor when he can't even do basic research?
I guess that's true.
It's like once I realized that, it completely ruined his character for me because it makes it completely shatters the preconception that he's this cool guy who always has a plan, who thinks things through carefully. And no, he just wants to he doesn't care about the actual cases and about the guilty verdicts. He just wants to have that one up over Phoenix. And that's why he never gets that. That's why he's able to keep that cool demeanor, in trials, unlike the other prosecutors.
That's certainly another reading of him. I actually don't know what my reading of him was at first, but
I think Goto's character plays off this. If you're playing it for the first time, or you're not thinking about the ramifications of what he said, he said later, he comes off as a really cool, threatening prosecutor that's really fun to interact with. When you realize he's just being a child the entire game, it's really frustrating and annoying because you have this really, especially after case 4 where he's just real gentleman and real intelligent guy who's helping Mia. Seeing him act like a incompetent child about the whole Phoenix thing and this stupid revenge.
I was just about to say, so what say you about the fact that in 3-4 his character is basically exactly the same?
Well,
he handles the cases exactly the same as a defense attorney as he does as a prosecutor. So does he not care about the defendants either?
No, and see, I think this comes down to, I don't know how I'm supposed to read him because he's supposed to. It's this whole thing's just about revenge. I would have liked it much more if at the end he said, I just wanted to test you because this as your final tribulation, because you were my pupil's pupil. I wanted to be able to. Granted, it would have made a lot of other things not make too much sense, but I feel like it would have been more consistent with his character to say that I wanted to. I couldn't show my face in court as a defense attorney again because I'm supposed to be dead. So I wanted to be that person to give you that final tribulation, that final trial I was not able to give my own student. I would have found that much more interesting rather than, oh yeah, you didn't protect Mia, so I hate you and I'm gonna get revenge by making you lose a court case. That I don't even. I feel like if you really
isn't that roughly what he says for when he's outed as killer in case 5?
To some degree, yes. And that's what's frustrating because there's that 50% of him that was saying that I just wanted to test you, and another 50% saying that I hate you for not protecting me and I wanted to get revenge.
Wait, I thought it turned from I hate you for not protecting Mia to I hate me for not protecting Mia.
Yeah, yes, there's a lot of projection. Yeah, there was a lot of see, and that's the interesting thing about Goto is that he does project his hatred of himself onto Phoenix because he does see himself in Phoenix, but it doesn't. I'm trying to think how to say this. That it doesn't particularly make sense why he would project this all on him when he's the one who brought in Mia's killer, and when there was no way for him to protect. And throughout the game, it never comes off as some bitter. He never comes off as some bitter man who has this grudge against Phoenix. Like he'll have these one line, like these lines and whatnot
about his coffee.
Yeah, I feel yes in some degree because bitter coffee is a representation of how bitter he is, but that doesn't even make sense because because
he spends most of his time grinning.
Yeah, well, no, but in 3-4 he drinks bitter coffee too, so it's not even a relative character trait. Like it'd be more interesting if he drank sweet coffee in 3-4 and was drinking bitter coffee later. That would have been. I think this goes back to something I said last week, that my biggest problem when it comes to media and something that really makes me dislike something, outside of just not caring about it, is wasted potential. And I think that's really where Godo as a prosecutor falls for me. That there are certain things about his character.
Anything about wasted potential last week, but go on.
Oh no, I was. That's when I was talking about Sword Art Online.
Okay, that makes more sense now.
Yeah. Because like my problem with Sword Art Online is it has all these interesting ideas about transhumanism and technology, and finding just and like growing yourself inside on a VR world, and some actual really interesting ideas that it never follows through on. I feel like Godo is the kind of the opposite case, where Godo has these interesting ideas he says at the end, but his actions throughout the game don't particularly match exactly what he was. Well, don't make sense to what his character arc turned out to be.
Should we move on to Q&A?
Yeah. Oh, is it? Oh, it's 4:30. Oh well, yeah. Dizzy, do you have any thoughts about this?
Nope.
I just saw Dizzy's green.
Yeah, his thing lit up, but I didn't hear what he said.
Yeah.
Good insight, Dizzy.
I hate internet connections so much.
I know this is bad.
And I can't even say oh, Dizzy, get better internet connection, because there's no competition in the market for internet. Everything's so overpriced, and there's no you're either stuck with something like Verizon or Time Warner Cable, or some third-rate internet company that has even worse internet connection than the two.
Anyways, Q&A.
Q&A, yeah, let me go into Q&A.
Where's the Q&A channel? Oh wait, I'm on it. Okay. Do you want to kick us off?
Okay, yes. First off, if any of you guys have anything that you want to, any of you listeners have something you want us to talk about in regards to a show, a media, or whatever, please leave suggestions, because that would be very helpful, because I'm going to try to start moving this into
more into topics we can all talk roughly equally about.
Yeah, because this is because the Pokemon
this is bad.
podcast.
This is bad.
This is bad. Hey, but you know what? We need recognizing problems is the first step of overcoming them. I think Dizzy turned into a dog.
Dizzy did turn into a dog. How did you do that, Pupper? Great insight, Dizzy.
Yep.
Good
Anyways,
boy.
I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we'll figure something out. We might talk about more Ace Attorney stuff in general or whatever. But let's just go into the Q&A. Okay, I answer that. The DOA wants to know if Nostalgia Critic funny.
No idea.
I mean, he
don't
can
watch him.
Be. He can be, but I don't agree with his method of reviewing. So, Dizzy, is Nostalgia Critic funny?
The only thing I know about the Nostalgia Critic is that apparently he beats his employees with a tire iron.
That doesn't sound like a thing.
I'm pretty sure that was on Drama Alert.
I'm not gonna bother shutting my dog up. It's just
Yeah,
gonna...
that's fine.
Congratulations on turning back into a human.
Tar, if we ever meet in person, I'm gonna throw you in front of a bus.
I am guessing that Dizzy did not get much sleep last night. Anyways, let's move on to the next question. Nigma wants to know if we eat eyes.
No.
No, I'm sure there's some cultures where eyes are eaten, but
Not in ours.
certainly not. Nope. Dizzy, do you eat eyes?
No, I put them on my brain so that I can be smarter.
I see. I need to get into this.
Eyes do see, Try. Good insight.
Oh god. Okay, Quad says, how about the fact that 7 out of 10 is seen as garbage and 5 out of 10 is average? I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Reviews. I don't want to get into review scores because that's a whole nother conversation that's kind of just bullshit. If something's not a 10 out of 10 and it's something you like, you're gonna, people just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that also, speaks to the quality of things that we expect. Because, yes, 5 out of 10 is supposed to be average, but, 7 out of, even above average, if we're treated with far above average stuff, then that becomes our new baseline. So if something's below that, then that's automatically bad.
Well, I think it comes to this: if 7 out of 10 is the new baseline, which means it's the new average, we got to start grading anything that's a 7 out of 10 as a 5 out of 10 because our standards are now higher, and that leaves more room for improvement. Whereas if our average is 7 out of 10, that makes the difference between 7 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10 virtually non-existent. You're leaving 3 points between a 7 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10, and
7 points between a 7 and a 0.
Yeah, and either you're expecting so much bad stuff that you need a higher scale to grade them, or we just need to accept that we just shouldn't be grading things on a scale in the first place. Either you like it or you don't like it, and either this is someone that you have similar tastes to, so you know you're gonna like it, or it's someone that you know you don't have similar tastes to, so you're not gonna like it.
Yes.
Yes.
Next.
All right. Quad also asked about how review aggregators affect things, such as Rotten Tomato having an average score. So what people need to realize is that aggregated scores are only good for they're only good for the people making said films and said games because that just lets them know how widely received their product was, and it can be used as a basis of what is generally accepted by the majority of people. And that can be used as a decision-making factor when creating said media. But people really, the average consumer, Joe, needs to stop looking at review aggregators because it's not going to be a fair assessment of what they actually are going to enjoy and what they're not going to enjoy.
I don't have anything to add on this topic because I don't even know what we're talking about by review aggregators.
No, these are all things.
Although I can assume they're roughly related to review crocodiles.
Okay. Yep.
Support our podcast.
Okay. Yep. Yep. That's right. Quad also asks how people aren't able to finish games before they're done reviewing, which in general is a thing that happens. Most game reviewers are stuck under they have to get the review out within a certain amount of time, otherwise no one's going to watch it, which generally means that they can't finish the game. And people just need to realize that reviews are just a first impression and aren't analysis. worth can only really be found through analysis, because that's going to be what be what breaks down what that specific person likes. A review is always going to be the surface level stuff that most people can understand. So,
well, I mean, like, I guess that would give a adequate amount of I guess that would be an adequate amount of time to give that surface level stuff. Like, you don't need to finish the game in order to get the bread and butter of the game.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, it's like this huge convoluted story that all with like 10,000 loose ends that all get tied up.
Wait, are we talking about one of those Zero Escape games?
Are we?
I don't know, because
the first example that came to my mind was what Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney tried to be.
Can we just not and pretend we did?
Sure.
And Enigma, as the last question, asked us to give a new perspective on the issue. I think I did, and let's just say we did.
Sure.
You gave the most stale, reused perspective on the issue I think I've ever heard in my life, and I've heard a lot of reused perspectives.
Yeah.
So then, wait, never mind.
Okay. The problem with the whole review discussion is that I think most people understand the issues, just no one wants to actually change.
Well, because change is bad.
Yeah, no, all change
The problem
is bad.
with it is that everyone
1950s.
thinks that they're completely right about everything and can't accept that another opinion exists. And that everyone is always pointing fingers at what they believe the problem is and is thinking that if they yell loud enough, they can fix it.
I completely agree with Dizzy.
Yeah, that seems about right. I don't have any arguments against it.
Nope. Because there is a lot of truth in what Dizzy says, because most people are just gonna tune out what they don't agree with. I'm trying to think.
Well, then we'd better hope that people agree with Try.
No. This whole podcast is an exercise in me working on my communication skills and hoping, maybe all of us work on our communication skills, I don't know, so I can express my opinions in a productive way. So I don't particularly care if my opinions are wrong. I try to stay as open-minded as I can, and that's why I listen to so many and that's why I listen to so many different perspectives. I try to as long as I feel like someone's being genuine to what they actually believe, I'll listen to them.
Gosh, I wish my character was as consistent as yours.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Dizzy was going to say something. I don't know.
I think he was just rustling food paper.
Oh, that makes sense. This is the podcast where Dizzy eats, after all.
True.
I ate like one thing at the very beginning.
Yeah. No, but I mean, we're still trying to come into our own as a podcast. I find the real appeal to these types of things is more just to get different people's perspectives and hear people talk. I don't think that people's minds are changed that easily, but the more people who are talking with an open mind out there, the better.
Well, we still have 20-ish minutes. Is there anything else we can do to fill the time?
Maybe we can all sing a beautiful tune.
Which one? Because I have no qualms with this.
I feel like that's
Welcome to Tar Idol.
I feel like that's exactly the last thing Dizzy wants to do.
Oh, toads.
At this point, if we don't find a better topics, Dizzy's just going to become a mythological creature who doesn't want to talk about things because he has a deep resentment for anger.
I mean, I do have a deep resentment for anger, but what I was going to say was why waste time when you can spend it? If we're out of topics, then let's wrap this up, and then, hey, look at that. All of us have an extra 20 minutes we didn't think we would have.
No, I was
with
I
which
was
to
actually
do
gonna
with
agree, it makes
whatever
the
we
editing
please.
a bit-
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
no, it makes the editing a bit easier on my part because it means I have less audio to edit anyways.
I was just gonna think if we're supposed to go till 5 try time, let's fucking go to 5 try time.
Well, I'd rather us talk about productive things.
Oh, shit, that's right.
I really want us to figure out some topics that we can all talk about. It's just not the easiest thing because Tar always... Well, Tar doesn't have much to talk about. Anything too political gets... that Dizzy doesn't want to talk about.
What?
And, well, when I say political, because everything's political, but like anything Dizzy has a strong, like strong opinions on.
I think you need to be more focused on Tar, because I'm not even going to be able to be here for very many more of these.
Oh, I'm
You guys
interested
Really?
in why.
What's going on?
You guys just better step up your stuff. I mean, I barely said anything this
Well,
whole
what's going on
podcast,
on your
so
end?
Yeah, what's going on your end? We need to let the audience know.
I don't owe you an explanation.
What?
We didn't hear what you said, Dizzy.
Yeah, we didn't...
I said that I didn't owe you an explanation.
I mean, you don't have to tell us. It just would be nice so we weren't left in the dark and confused.
No one wants
not-
to be left in the dark.
There's some things you can't tell people, alright?
Okay,
There's some things you can tell someone, but you really, 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 really shouldn't.
I have a feeling that
Besides,
Dizzy
you-
doesn't really like this podcast.
You two did fine. I didn't say anything this whole time. You've got this whole talking to each other thing pretty down pat. You don't even need.
I don't
me
think
here.
so.
I don't think so. It's Tar and I actually really struggle to make an interesting conversation because
You only
Tar's
think
that
you do.
guy
You
that,
just
like-
talked for an hour.
well, I
Well,
talk for
except
an
the
hour and I
first
don't want
half
to.
hour was try steamrolling me. It was not even steamrolling me. I didn't have anything to add.
This is his exercise in learning how to speak to people or something, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I need you guys to speak, like try to interrupt me more and try to get me to shut up if you've got something to say, please bring it up. It's hard
Get
for
guests.
I'm the type
Just
of person,
keep talking. Find
and this
something that both of you can talk about more of.
and I agree. I want to. That's what I want to do. I think things were going to get more interesting when we were talking about Ace Attorney because Tar had some things to say about that.
Barely.
Barely. I really do think that the Pokemon podcast was the most interesting because we all had something to say in that regards.
Why don't we let Dizzy pick the next topic then?
Yeah, we'll let Dizzy pick the next topic.
I might not even be here for your next topic, and how can I pick the next topic when I barely know either of your interests?
Well, that's kind of the point of having a topic.
Next episode will be the Dizzy episode.
Yeah, it'll be the Dizzy episode.
God.
I know I'm the one who asked you guys to do the podcast, but I really need some more input from you guys. Otherwise, I'm going to be picking topics that I can talk. Like I'll be the only one talking for, and that's not really conducive for me. Like if we can figure out what the topic is, like a few days before, and it's we can find something that we're all interested in. We can collect our thoughts. We can do like whatever research we want to do, and go from there.
And we lost him.
Yep, we lost him.
No, I'm still here. I'm just waiting for you to
Yeah,
finish.
no, I just, and for me,
I thought he was.
Yeah, no, I saw he was still there. No, I just find it frustrating when I do find it frustrating when I'm the only one talking, and that makes me talk more because I'm just
trying to fill the dead air.
Yeah, because like there are times like I'll like leave a pause or hoping someone speaks in, and then like when no one says anything, it makes me want to talk. Like, well, it gives me less faith that you guys have something to say about this topic, and I don't because I am interested in what you guys have to say, and it's just hard because we're still trying to find our groove, and we're trying to find what makes, like, what our niche would be, what would make an interesting conversation with the three of us.
Well, I thought we did. I thought our entire thing was that we weren't supposed to have a niche. We were just supposed to talk about whatever.
Well, when I say niche, I mean like what makes us unique and what makes our conversations interesting. Okay. I'm not talking about like specific like topics or fandoms. I'm talking about what
dynamics we have between us, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah, what dynamics and what types of things will we be able to contribute on? Because I don't want to steamroll you guys. This is when it comes to me becoming better at communicating. Part of that is not steamrolling people when I get on a rampage. It's letting other people talk, because I will talk in circles over and over and over again, and I will be saying very similar things with little to no substance. Because that's the type of person
the first half hour of this podcast.
Exactly. Now you get it.
But
and the only way that
I was just going to repeat something I said. So so I'm just being a great big old hippopotamus.
A wonderful hippopotamus that is.
Hippos are pretty wonderful, except for when they're not, which is most of the time. Because they're giant herbivorous nightmares.
Mm-hmm. But I think the three of us have such different personalities that we all have something unique to offer. But I feel that
this podcast is doomed because Dizzy's personality leads him to not want to contribute, and my skills, let's say, allow me to not be able to contribute, physically able to contribute.
I feel like the dynamics would be better if Tar took up the role of the type of person who was like asking questions and who was like in a more traditional host type of role, if that makes because I feel like
and I try to be. But, I don't even know which questions I want to ask, because I'm not versed in these topics at all. And, I know I'm given an entire week to research this kind of stuff, but, I have my own stuff going on, too. There's a reason why we can only record Saturdays.
Yeah, no, when I say research, I don't mean to, do full wiki dives on topics. And I almost wonder in some ways if you were the one thinking of the topics, because I think one of the worst things is when I come up with a topic, because when I have a topic, that means I have a lot to say on something. And if I have a lot to say, I'm going to dominate the podcast if you guys aren't going to be trying to speak over me.
Well, the reason I don't do it is because for me it'd be the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's why
you want to talk about Super Monkey Ball again?
See, I want to go back and look at some Let's Plays of Super Monkey Ball, because I played that a bit when I was a kid, so I would have something to say in that regard.
I've played it since I was 4.
Yeah, I was really into Super Monkey Ball when I was a kid. But I think in regards to podcasts, I think Disney needs to be the one that come up with some of the topics.
Yeah, Disney absolutely needs to do this more because
don't put topic finding on me, because I might not even be here in a couple of weeks.
Is it life stuff or is it internet stuff?
It's things that are outside of my control.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's fun.
That's
fine. Life stuff, so never mind then. Yep, we're gonna have to find a new host.
Yeah, but that's fine. And that's why these
you
next
two
few
did
times
carry this whole podcast basically yourselves. You don't need me here anyways.
Well, I don't think that's true. Dizzy.
3's the magic number, though.
Then get Enigma.
Yeah, Dizzy, the best stuff was the first podcast when you had a lot to say about Pokemon. That was the most interesting stuff in this entire podcast.
Then strive for that.
Since we started this.
I tend to disagree.
Look
I
at
think
all
episode
this
3
that you
was our
guys have
best
been-
one we've done so far, but
Oh
anyways,
no,
Dizzy,
episode,
go.
okay.
Look at all
Okay,
this that
episode
you
one
two have
wasn't the
just been
best.
talking about. This
What?
whole last conversation that you two have just been having. You're too focused
You think that's
on...
the best one we've done so far?
No, but I think it's it proves the fact that you two are very capable of continuing a quick, fast-paced conversation with each other. You're too worried about these topics and these restrictions and these got to do this weekly thing. And that's why you're like flipping out about this. You both can do this just fine. You're just worried too much.
Well, it's not that okay. I know Tara and I could handle this podcast by ourselves. The point of the matter is, you bring so many interesting perspectives because you are so different from me. I feel like in a lot of ways, Tara is not that much different from me. We might have some different opinions about the specifics, but when it comes to different perspectives and worldview, I feel like Tara and I aren't that different. I mean, we both take part in like the same roleplay communities. We have I feel like our internet our internet uses and our internet histories are not that different. You bring something that neither Tara and I can like bring in. Every time you have something to bring up, like you mention something, or like one of your ideas or criticisms of something I say, I think like it makes me step back and think, oh wait, it actually makes me question if I'm wrong, and it makes me reevaluate my perspectives, where that doesn't happen with Tor. I can have a debate with Tor. I don't feel like I've grown as much as when I've had a debate or a conversation with you, Dizzy. Does that make sense?
I mean, the ultimate end of it, again, is that the reason for my leaving is outside of my control. It's not like, convince me to stay. It's like, I can't stay here.
I know, I know, and it's outside of control, and that's why I want these next few your last few weeks, when you're able to do this, to be topics I choose, because I want to get as much out of you as I possibly can, because you're a good influence on me.
And see, 10 minutes ago when this podcast suddenly exploded, like, this is good. I like this.
Yeah.
I like it when I'm not contributing.
No, but I think it comes to this. I think that if you are leaving, this is your chance to like really help
to make your mark on the podcast.
Yeah, because I think the podcast, if Tara and I don't shape up a bit more, this podcast won't be lasting that much longer. Where like with your help, I think we can really get better at this and know what we want from this podcast and know how we can make it better.
Sorry, I'm drinking water.
Yeah, water's good. You should drink it. Stay hydrated.
Fun drinking game. Take a shot of water every few hours to make sure you are healthy.
Every few hours. That sounds pretty good. If anything, if you guys are so focused on... If anything, if you guys are so focused on, like, me starting up things, shouldn't these last few weeks be more focused on you two, like, getting far more equipped and acquainted?
Well, I think Tar and I are acquainted enough as it is. Considering that, like, as I said, we've done Danganronpa role plays together.
No, not like that kind of acquainted. Like, I mean, like more familiar with the duo.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. And I think it comes down to this. I feel like I know Tar better than I know you, and that's something I don't like. I'm trying to. I don't even know how I'm supposed to word this because it's just I've explained before. I'm flailing my hands as I constantly try to make sense of the world and my understanding of things.
Anyways, we should probably start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Can you cut this whole part out?
Okay. How about this? Just for next week, Dizzy chooses the topic, and we'll take it from there, because we're still, even like with Tara and I, we're still trying to figure out what types of topics we do well, and sometimes, like, if we don't know exactly, it's good to have outside influences.
And we need to adjust our template for the thumbnail, and that's work.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, if these are the last few weeks that you're going to be able to do it, Dizzy, might as well be topics that you want to talk about.
Yeah,
because if it's stuff that you don't want to contribute on, why would you still be on the next few episodes anyways? Why not just quit while you're ahead?
Why would I make a topic that I want to talk about when that would just be me steamrolling the conversation instead of steamrolling the conversation? Do you think your audience really wants? Do your audience really wants to hear my hyena-like voice? Hey, everybody! Who wants to hear this for an hour?
Okay, so
welcome to the
one of the
pros in the
Landfill. One of the podcasts I listen to has a guy on there whose voice is far more grating than your voice. Your great voice is not that grating at all.
It really isn't. Like, it is the most grating out of the three of us, but you can do far worse.
Get out of hand. Get out of hand.
I feel like my voice is the most cringy out of all of us. Whenever I try to listen to myself talk, it's just...
Well, of course you think that you're you. No one likes their voice.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough, but I feel like I I'm not really dry, but I don't really have this energy. I'm just kind of monotone, no matter how I feel about something. Like,
do you think I'm not monotone?
No, you've got a lot.
You've got quite a bit of energy in your voice.
Yeah,
I'm like that. Like, Try's concern is the same concern I have for me. Like, my tone of voice is always the same, no matter what.
Yeah, no, but you're good at putting the emphasis on things. I struggle with emphasis and intonation. You're able to put emphasis really strong, like really like I don't know. You've got a mastery of emphasis, Tar.
Okay, if you say so.
If I say so, and I have no credibility on anything
that
at
was
all.
an attempt to subvert that.
I know you've got your sarcasm's fun too.
My sense of humor is different. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I try to be funny.
Dizzy, if you're not going to be on for a few weeks from now, might as well have a podcast where you steamroll the rest of us, because I've steamrolled you guys the last 2 podcasts. Got to make things even.
It's your podcast, though, so you have a right to that.
Well,
it's your podcast too, for right now.
Yeah, honest to God, I am handing the reins over to you, Dizzy. This is now the Dizzy cast until you leave.
You know, the only thing I'm going to say about that, aside from the fact that it's 5 and for 5 for Try, so we don't even have time anymore, is that you said something about God, you said something about God, and on my table over here, there's these church wacky bucks or something, but in the middle, of a real life human dollar, they have a president. These ones have a symbol, and I could not figure out what the symbol was. But I realize now it was a cross because it's church wacky bucks. But I swear it looked like the Smash Brothers logo.
Jesus for Smash confirmed. Anyways, this has been Bros in a Landfill signing off.
Please cut this entire part out.